Hey, welcome to the Explainer. So, if you're a first-time voter in Hungary, you've come to the perfect place. We're going to walk you through exactly how the whole election system works, step by step, so you can walk into that voting booth feeling totally confident.
So let's start with a big question. It seems simple, right? But the answer, well, it's a bit more complicated than you might think. Because you see, it's not just about who you check a box for. It's about how the system itself takes that check mark and turns it into actual political power. And honestly, getting a handle on that is the real key to making sure your vote counts for everything it's worth.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at where your vote actually goes. Then, we'll dive into the two X's you'll be making. After that, we'll get into the really cool part, how a vote becomes a seat in Parliament. We'll also cover some special situations for voting and wrap it all up with a super simple checklist for the big day.
All right, first things first. Let's set the stage. When you cast your ballot, what are you actually helping to build? Well, the answer is the Hungarian parliament.
So, the whole parliament has exactly 199 seats. And that number isn't just random. It's actually pretty clever. It's an odd number on purpose to make sure there are no tie votes or deadlocks when it's time to make big decisions.
Okay, so when you step into that voting booth, you're not just getting one ballot paper, you're getting two. That means you get to make two separate X's. So let's break down what each of these powerful little marks actually does.
Okay, so your first vote, think of it as voting for your local champion. This is a specific person who's going to represent the interests of your neighborhood, your district. But your second vote is for a party list. This one's more about the big picture. It's your way of influencing the national political landscape as a whole.
And here's how that all breaks down to fill those 199 seats. A solid 106 of them go to the winners of those local, individual races we just talked about. The other 93 seats? Those are decided by the national party list votes. So you're influencing things on two different levels here.
Okay, now we get to what is probably the most complicated, but honestly, the most fascinating part of the entire system. It's how your vote actually turns into a seat. And it all comes down to this really unique idea where some votes get, well, recycled. This idea is called a fragmentary vote, or töredés szavazat. What does that mean? Basically, if your vote in a local district didn't end up helping your candidate win that specific race, it's not just thrown away. Nope, it gets a second life, a second chance to count towards something on the national level.
And this recycling happens in two really cool ways. First, there's what's called loser compensation. All the votes for the candidates who didn't win their district get bundled up and sent to their party's national list. But then, and this is something really unique to the Hungarian system, there's winner compensation. This means that even the surplus votes of the person who won also get transferred. How cool is that?
Okay, I know that sounds a little confusing, so let's use a super simple, made-up example to make it crystal clear. Imagine a district where the Green Party candidate wins with 100 votes. The Blue Party candidate comes in second with 60, and the Purple Party gets 20.
But wait, there's a catch, a really important one. To get any seats in parliament at all, a party has to get at least 5% of the total vote nationwide. In our little story, let's say the Purple Party only got 4% nationally. That means, unfortunately, their 20 votes from this district,
They're just lost.
they don't get transferred anywhere.
So what happens to the other votes? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The Blue Party's 60 votes, since they were the runner-up, all 60 get passed up to their national party list. That's the loser compensation we talked about. Now for the Green Party. To win, they only needed 61 votes, right? Just one more than the Blue Party. So those extra 39 votes they got are considered surplus. And guess what? They also get added to the Green Party's national total. That's winner compensation in action.
So this table just neatly wraps it all up for us. The Green Party gets to add 39 votes to their national count, and the Blue Party adds a full 60. The only votes that vanish are the Purple Parties, all because they didn't hit that 5% national threshold. The whole point of this system is to make sure that as few votes as possible go to waste.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about some special situations. What if you're not at home on election day? What if you're living in a completely different country? The good news is, don't worry, you can still absolutely cast your vote. It really breaks down into three main scenarios. First, if you're still in Hungary but just not at your home address, you can re-register to vote in another city, but you'll still be voting for the candidate from your original home district. Second, if you live abroad but you still have a registered address in Hungary, you can go vote at an embassy or consulate. And third, if you live abroad and don't have a Hungarian address, you can vote by mail, but you'll only be able to vote for a national party list. So, the bottom line here is you've got to plan ahead.
The deadline to request re-registration in another city or to vote from abroad is April 9th. Seriously, mark that on your calendar because you do not want to miss it.
And there's one more really interesting choice you might have for that second vote. If you belong to one of Hungary's recognized national minorities, like German or Roma, for example, you can choose to vote for their specific list instead of a political party's list. The key thing here is you have to register for it beforehand, and you have to pick one or the other. You can't do both.
All right, that's enough of the theory. Let's get down to brass tacks, the practical stuff. We're going to finish up with a super simple checklist for Election Day just to make sure you walk in there feeling cool, calm, and collected.
Honestly, it could not be easier. Step 1, bring your ID and your address card. Step 2, they'll hand you 2 ballot papers. Step 3, go into the booth and make a clear X inside the circle for your candidate and another X for your party list. Then you just fold them up, pop them in the ballot box, and boom, you've officially voted.
And that really brings us back to the main point. Understanding all this stuff, like how those fragmentary votes and compensation systems work, it does more than just make you a smart voter. It really gives you a new appreciation for how powerful your single vote can be and how it really makes an impact.
So I'll leave you with this thought. Now that you know that even a vote for a losing candidate or an extra vote for a winner doesn't just disappear, that it can actually make a difference nationally, how does that change the way you see your own vote? It just goes to show that in this system, every single vote truly matters, so make sure you use yours.